to Raconteurs News.
Good evening, welcome to Raconteurs News. It's Thursday the 2nd of June, but this is a pre-record, so we're actually still in May, so I hope June turns out to be better than May. It's unfortunate we're having to do a pre-record, but it was proving really difficult to get all the members together for tonight's show, so we said we'd do a pre-record. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the members of Pandors Box Investigations Limited. And we've got Gordon Bowden. Good evening, Gordon.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And we've also got David Veitch on the line. Good evening, David.
Good evening.
And we've got Pete Bromfield. Good evening, Pete.
Good evening, Andy.
Right, guys, if you could just give a very brief recap on what Pandors Box Investigations is about for anyone who's not aware. For those who want to check out the previous show, it is episode 6 of Raconteurs News, way back then. It's on our podcast, and you'll be able to check out that. But if you could just give a quick refresher, please, guys.
Yeah, we're missing one member tonight. That's Stevie Ritchie. He's down in Devon. Should have maybe brought him on the call as well. But it'll just be an oversight of refreshing people's memories exactly what Pandora's Box Investigations is all about. Mm-hmm. And that's to protect investors who have lost their money and to make the government accountable for not doing any due diligence on these scumbags, including politicians, who are extracting the urine out of this country and stealing billions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's all in the day's work for the other side.
Oh, yeah, they seem to do it day in, day out, don't they?
The beauty of what Gordon's bringing to this table, and it's, most of this work comes from Gordon. These people are running scared. I've witnessed this myself. We've just we just did a sort of an appearance at the Investor Roadshow, which probably none of the listeners know anything about. And I think we've made quite a spectacular day of it. We opened a lot of people's eyes. We made a lot of people very, very nervous, to the extent at the end of the day it went a bit all James Bondy, and we were getting texts and people wanting to give the dirt on their mates, and it was quite an interesting day, and I'm really glad that I was invited to it.
Oh, excellent!
Recorded as well, Peter. We've got it recorded.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I mean, everything we say is not hearsay. It's not conspiracy. Everything that we put out into the social media or into the public, you can bet your bottom dollar that it is 100% accurate, 100%, because we do the due diligence that the other side should be doing, basically. All of these bodies that are set up in the financial system to regulate things like this aren't working. These guys are paid off massive sums of money. You hear it, the same people talking on this referendum that's coming up about, these economists didn't see the 2008 crash coming. So, what good are they? I mean, they don't know anything. They're the worst in their class at school. That's why they get the job in the public media, because they could earn good money privately. They just haven't got the brains for it. Actor George Osborne, he's an economist. He's the worst. He was finished lowest in his school.
Well, depends what he was sniffing and what underwear he was wearing when he went to his little jaunt house.
Well, that's right. And it all depends if his mate Matilda was, what sort of frame of mood she was in, So, yeah, these people, they sprout. I mean, if you look at Cameron when he speaks on TV, you can, if you're any good at body language or anything, you can see straight through the guy. Mm. Every utterance that comes out of that man's mouth is just crap. He doesn't believe it himself. You can tell by the twitching in his little fishy mouth,
Yeah.
These people don't deserve to be where they are. And I'm pleased that, you know, with my job, I travel all over the country, and I get to talk to a lot of people. And this referendum, I think, is going to be, you know, it's not only about leaving Europe. I think it's about the way that we're governed in this country. People are, you know, the majority of people in this country work every hour God sends, and at the end of the day, they're earning enough money to pay the bills off and maybe go down and have a few hours on a Friday night. People have had enough of it. You know, these people at the top pay themselves millions and millions of pounds. They don't do anything for it. None of it. They don't do a thing. They get straight out of college for the same families that have been running the show for 400 years. And it's time that we all wake up to that. And after we get out of Europe, I hope that we start cleaning up our own front yard.
Mm-hmm. I mean, do you think they'll actually let us leave Europe, or this referendum will just be rigged?
I don't trust the way it's going to go. But I will say this, and this is hand on heart. I travel all over this country in my job, as you know. Mm-hmm. I speak to many people, and I haven't met one person who is going to vote to stay in.
Yeah.
And I visit factories and different, you know, big distribution centres every day, and I haven't met one person that's going to vote to stay in.
Yeah.
We know through the postal vote mechanism they got set up. This is what we've got to keep our eye on, you know, because this is the way that they, you know, I mean, you take the Scottish referendum. They found thousands and thousands of votes scattered up in the woods, didn't they? You know, the day after the count. You know, so I don't trust these people. I think the country. I mean, I watched Question Time, the last Question Time in Ipswich, and it gives me hope. It really gives me hope, because I'm beginning to think that the majority of people now, the ordinary people that don't really know what we know about things, they're starting to get it. They're starting to see through these people and seeing them for what they are. You know, you got these lifelong pals at Eton fighting each other over this referendum, and all they're talking about is the economy. Nobody's mentioning the common law. You know, nobody's giving any sort of intelligent facts from both sides. It's just the economy or sovereignty. You know, it's just a word. You know, people have got to understand why our military people have died in 2 world wars and more. You know, I mean, they must be turning in their graves. I mean, we're giving the country to the very people. I mean, who runs Europe? It's Germany. You know, so
and China.
Well, there you go. You know, I mean, we've got some of the best minds in the world. We've invented virtually everything that the world has today, including the internet. You know, so I think this country should stand how it has done for the last, you know, up to 10,000 years. You know, we should govern ourselves. I think we're a very tolerant people, which is a good thing. You know, I've got no grievance with any other nationality living in this country. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. You know, it's to me, it's not about people. It's not about economy. It's about sovereignty, and it's about, you know, it's about custom. It's about ancestry. It's this is our culture. You know, this is our heritage. There's no other land on the earth that has got the culture that we have. You know, even though some of it is not very good. You know, through the Empire days and all of that. But, you know, we've done pretty good, and I can't see any reason to change it. I think the way politics is going is it's going down the road of everything's corporate these days. You know, and if we're not careful, it's going to be the corporations are going to take over. I mean, you know, you haven't got to be blind to see that's going on now.
Yeah. You know? But they have, Peter. They have.
Well, they haven't totally. They haven't totally yet.
If you look at
to say these things, I mean, if we were in Russia back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, we would have been sort of out into the desert, you know. So at least we can do that still, you know.
Look, Peter, as you know, a lot of my research goes into those corporates that have got away with not paying any tax.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest ones are the ones that are interlocked to the same directors running these fake oil, gas, and mining companies.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all know that. You know,
Yeah, but
I mean,
we know it, but we're never given a platform.
That's correct.
To the bigger media outlets because one, it's fact. It's not hearsay, not conspiracy. It's not secondhand. It's fact that these people like Anne Laverone and Sir Samuel S. and Jonah and Anthony William Paul Sage and Peter Lander and all the cronies, the David Anthony Lenegas, all these con artists who for 40 odd years have been extracting the urine out of everybody in this country, in Australia, Germany, South Africa, because they've been allowed to get away with it because they've got people in their back pocket, either by perversion or blackmail, who run as governments this country. And that's what
right.
it is.
That's right.
Gordon, can you go through this, the information that somebody kindly has passed on to the Australian authorities about Landau and Sage?
Well, that was that.
How that links into Anne Laverone.
Well, it's easy. It's easy because if you'd have taken a packet of Poundland crayons and a notebook and jotted down some of the common directors and the companies, the oil, gas, and mining exploration companies, what you would have seen, you wouldn't have to be a space cadet or a rocket scientist. What you would have seen is that the same names pop up in these exotic billion-pound debt-funded companies that never go into production. And say, I don't know how thick or how corrupt our police are, but trust me, they must have got their certificates from Del Boy and the Pink Panther, Inspector Clouseau, because I don't care what individuals' intelligence is, whether they went to Eton, Oxford, or Cambridge. If you put those names into a little book, you would come up what I come up with in 2001. And that's what I found, is that I was giving information to the Australian Federal Police via the 2008, this was when ABC Four Corners did the Bad Company production, which was about the assassination of a mining magnate and the asset stripping of Johannesburg Consolidated Investments and Durban Rudaport Deep Gold. Those companies lost over $1 billion plus shares in the companies and other subsidiary companies, and then they assassinated the guy who was going to nail them all by going to the police. They shot him 7 times with low velocity rounds, and luckily, because I've carried a firearm most of my life in the military and out in South Africa for 20 odd years, so I know what low velocity rounds are. They're an assassin's bullet, where they reduce the load to when they're shot at close range, the bullet never exits and hits secondary people. It just rattles around inside and does a lot of damage. Yeah. But anyway, Peter Landau and Sir Samuel S. and Jonah and Anthony William Paul Sage, they're two of the big boys who are the main players in a lot of these fake oil, gas and mining companies, or companies that they select for asset stripping. They are what we call robber barons. And what they try to do is buy a worthless plot of dirt somewhere or an old flooded quarry, an old care and maintenance mine, and then put glitter on a turd. Excuse my French. But that's what they do. They put glitter on a turd, and then they float the company with a preemptive video of some twonk in a mining helmet with a chipping hammer in the middle of the desert who finds a rock, and then they form this company to float shares to raise millions. After they've done that, they rob it blind. And they rob it blind by moving money to subsidiary companies where they're also the same directors of those subsidiaries. So all they're doing is playing pass the money.
Yeah. And we met some of them at these two shareholder Master Investor Company shows down in London. And,
Yeah.
and believe me, Gordon, you were there. Peter was at one of them, I think, and they were absolutely crapping themselves.
Well,
As soon as we walked in, we were the centre of attention, and some of them were snitching on others. We've got it recorded. This one signed a check for this, and that one did this, and this one did the other one. They're absolutely papping themselves because they know that these investigations that are going on in Australia, that some kind person passed on to them, and to the French and Swiss authorities, that another kind person passed on to them, are starting to come through the system now. Now, this will open the whole Pandora's box up, and it'll ultimately lead to Gordon Brown, David Cameron, Thatcher,
Tony Blair.
and he was on the TV or the radio today, wasn't he, Gordon? What was he trying to? He was trying to stop Brexit or whatever they call it. You know, this thing with Europe.
Well, he's voting for his European Freemason con artists to carry on the conduiting of billions of pounds. I mean, if anybody
let's also not forget that if we join Europe and we lose our common law, because we all know what else he's guilty of. He's guilty of treason.
Exactly, and money laundering.
Right. So
an organised crime Freemason syndicate, money laundering.
When you really look into these people, you'll find that they're a cabal, and they treat us, the ordinary people. And I mean, all I'll have to do is show you my wage slip. You know, I mean, I work between 60 and 70 hours a week, right? And I earn enough money to pay the bills, to pay the rent, you know, to maybe, you know, go to the road show, have a bit of cash to put in the car to get down there, you know, and it's people are getting sick of it, you know, and all you hear out of these people's mouths is we have to work harder. We have to. I mean, if we worked any harder, we'd all be dropping, right? And nobody's happy. Nobody's happy in their work because people aren't getting the money that they should be getting. You know, it's like they're very quick to give themselves fill their own pockets up, and that's because they treat this country like it's their fiefdom. And to an extent, you've got to understand that they've been getting away with it for so many hundreds of years because they're the same families that I suppose that they feel entitlement to it. And that's why, if you look at it, really, if you look at everything, all the pomp and ceremony that still goes on, I mean, all this stuff belongs back in the Empire days, right? And so do these people. They belong in the past. They belong in the past. And it's time, you know, we're not going to get anywhere. This country will not get anywhere with these same people at the command post. We've got to get people that are interested in people, not business, not money, right? Because as we all know, money is just created out of thin air. I mean, you know, they go on about these banks and all of that and how we can't do without them. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. You know, it's like these people think that we're all going to just drop dead if they're not in charge. You know, it won't happen.
The main problem, as I see it, is that when you listen to a politician like Cameron, he generalises. Do you understand? He doesn't specifically identify individuals or target those who are the mainstay of destroying this country. What he's doing is he's generalising in general statements about the National Health Service, the banks, the steel workers, how uneconomical it is to make steel in this. We are the best steel makers in the world. Other than Germany with Krupps and their steel makers, what you're looking at is that politicians and their mates in various Chamber of Commerce individual companies like the India and UK Chamber of Commerce, is these people are doing deals for each other. That's what they're doing. And they're selling our individual corporations to each other, and then they're asset stripping them. And that's what they do. Anybody can put me in a court of law, and I'll show you exactly how they're doing it. Exactly.
Well, you showed me and you showed a lot of people. Now, you know, as we all know, we all know everything's covered up. I mean, look, we've taken bits and pieces of evidence and fact and stuff that would get me and you investigated, right? We've taken this stuff to the highest authorities in the land, the highest.
And the BBC.
And the BBC. And it gets to these people, and the people that we show this stuff to are enthusiastic. They're going, my God. It's like you can see the glee in their faces that they're going to get. You know, this is going to be good stuff. And they pass it upstairs, and it gets stopped. And then that's it. It's like a big foot comes down on it, right? And these are the kinds of people we're dealing with. And until we get rid of them, you know, they hide everything under the Official Secrets Act, which is perverting the course of justice. These people they don't get prosecuted with the law like you and I and the majority of these people, the people in this country would, you know. And this is why they're getting away with it, because they don't fear any of this. They don't fear it. The only thing these people fear is us coming together, right? They fear information. This is why they want to control the internet, right? So, you know, unless we do something about it and stand up for our side, we will be ruled by this tiny minority of people till the bloody planet bumps into the sun. I mean, you know, it's got to stop at some time, or we're just not going to get anywhere. We know that there's different kinds of energy out there and fuel out there that can be free to everybody, right? But because these people can't make a profit out of it, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day, because we all know we're all judged on our bank account. We're not judged on, you know, the kinds of people we are. Everyone's judged on your bank account. You know, it's typical. Like, you know, I remember my parents. If the neighbours bought a new car or put a new windows in or new carpets, you can bet your bottom dollar that a couple of weeks later they'd be doing the same, right? And it would continue down the street. You know, we've got to stop that mentality of that money is the be and all end all of everything. You know, the only reason you believe that is because it's pumped at you in the media 24/7. People have got to stop thinking about that. And you know, there's so many other better ways that we can go without these people in charge dividing us all, because that's all they do.
Look,
that's what this referendum is. That's what this referendum is.
If you take David Cameron, our Right Honourable Prime Minister David Cameron, for your listeners, Andy, let's take a few facts. It's just come out recently about the Panama Papers.
Yeah.
You understand, and now it links David Cameron and his great-grandfather, who was running a family account through Panama, where they're talking about David Cameron tax evasion through a family account.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I brought that company up, Blaymore Holdings, years ago. It's out
at least 5-6 years ago.
Yeah. Now, my point is this: this is David Cameron, the Prime Minister. He works, or Blaymore Holdings worked through an accountancy firm, Smith and Williamson Investments Management. And where are they? Well, no, they're not in London. These people are in Ireland. And when you want to check the ability to do a director check on these, because they're Irish companies, it's very hard. Other than if you use my search engines, I can find them. But Smith and Williamson Investment Managers, David Cameron should explain why he uses Irish admin companies that are linked to Blaymore Holdings. Do you understand? It's not rocket scientists. If you were to take the Master Investor Roadshow that we went there, when we went there, one of the main speakers for Master Investor Roadshows is normally a guy called Nigel William Ray. That's W-R-A-Y. Now, he's an old pal of David Cameron. And there he is, pumping the companies, which are virtual companies. They're just cash shells.
Yeah.
As I said, you know, it doesn't matter to me whether I name these people in a radio show without any fear of defamation, slander, and libel, because I'm trying to get these people to take me to court so that I can introduce forensic correspondence that will nail these people. It will start the ball rolling to bring about the arrest and prosecution of people like Sir Samuel S. and Jonah and Peter Landau and Anthony William Paul Sage. The Australian authorities have done it. Our authorities are all sitting with their heads in their backside because they know where it's going to go. They know it will be the dismantlement of the London Stock Exchange, the alternative investment market, as being
told that by a top politician. You know, I don't know if Gordon wants to name where that came from, but
well, you know, we've got a good ally with John Patterson, in as much as he's been a major promoter of a lot of my work and Pandoras Box exposés, coming to the BBC, covertly filming, covertly recording the conversations at the City of London Police. He's been with me. He's been with me to meet my QC and my barrister in our civil case, which we've won for a counter defamation case. Yeah. Now that's for costs and expenses for their clerks to sort that out. However, if you had to look at one of his main focus points was the Goldsmith. I think it was Zach Goldsmith.
Yeah, Zach Goldsmith.
All right, he's a Conservative MP for Richmond, isn't he?
Yes, that's correct. And he's
the son of James Goldsmith.
That's right.
Well, his German Jewish parents.
He's related to the Middletons, isn't he?
But I mean,
Kate's mother of Goldsmith.
Yeah, well, he married Alice Mirinda Rothschild.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then that relates to Diana as well, doesn't it? So, you know, it's...
Yeah, because Alice is the daughter of Anita Patience.
Yeah.
And that's Nee Guinness. So you're looking at the Guinness Empire.
Yeah.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, have a look how much land the Guinnesses own. My God.
Yeah, exactly. But when you look at the financials of the Guinness Empire and there's hundreds of subsidiaries, they're hundreds of millions in debt.
Hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions in debt. And it's being propped up by loans as a debt facility.
Yeah. Well, debt's the new profit, isn't it? Debt's the new profit.
Yeah, but as I said, when you're talking to the listeners or try to get to the listeners of Andy Young's show, if you're trying to keep this simple so it doesn't go over their heads, I'm trying to isolate individual companies to then use those as a leverage to open a bigger section of Pandora's box. And the only way you can do it is to get people on board to our support to be able to back us. People in the National Health Service, the steel workers, the miners, all these people who have been sold down the Swanee. Those are the people that need to pick up a telephone and ring their constituent MP and say, listen, I've heard about this Pandora's box. I've heard, is it true? Well, you tell me, Dr. David Kelly, with a Chilcot inquiry that's run for 5-6 years without any sort of report being handed back, for all the people that lost their lives, that came back broken mentally and physically, for all the civilian casualties and the total destruction of a sovereign country. You tell me why they have locked away Dr. David Kelly's information for 70 years. I'll tell you why, because all the thieving, corrupt pieces of crap will all be dead.
Yeah.
And we've got information on Chilcot as well, haven't we?
The report's coming a month after the referendum, which is funny enough, because obviously if we vote to join to get in, he's got away with it, man. He's got away with it.
If you look at Sir Malcolm Rifkin and Jack Straw, were booted because of fraud, and this is the man that was in charge of our defence.
Yeah.
It shows what scum that are running this country. And,
Well, even if you look back into early history, back into the 60s with Blunt and the head of the MI6 being agents, these people can't be trusted. They can't be trusted.
well, we don't get the opportunity to pick some of these people because we've never given a platform to confront. Well, it's going to come because next weekend we're going to do a bit of confrontation, and I think that it's going to upset a lot of people who will look for one-way tickets to Panama, if you understand.
Yeah, well, if they're not looking already.
Well, maybe they've already gone because there's nobody answering the phone down that part of Wales.
Well, that's it. And I'll tell you what, Andy, when we were at the investor conference, it was getting towards the end of it, and we were all sitting down, sort of having a cuppa and taking the mick out of a few people here and there that we could see running away from us. I mean, David Lennigas, as soon as he saw us, just ran. I mean, he couldn't get away from us quick enough. And he spent sort of the entire night up at the balcony looking at us out the corner of his eye. But I was sort of walking around the top. A text went on my phone. I got a message on my phone, and I've still got them. But I'll read a few to you.
Mm.
So the first message I got was, "Do you want killer facts on DL?" ? Of course, that's David Lennigas. And I said, "Yeah, gimme. I'll add it to what we already have." And then the next text is, "Okay, stand to. I've just got to give a talk on the main stage, and I'll meet you at the top after, and we can have a chat."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay, so that's what we did. Anyway, I got a tap on the shoulder, and there was this fairly large guy, Mr. Bell, and he was saying he couldn't get it out of his mouth quick enough. He was dobbing in Lennigas basically for insider trading, saying that I've got the lowdown on who wrote the checks and who did this and who did that, and the man was physically shaking. Now, what he didn't know was that we already had the information on this Andrew Bell, this character as well. And the reason that he was doing this was he was trying to get the attention away from himself, trying to act like he was a friend of ours, you see. And this is how they are, these people. When their ship starts to sink, because we spent a considerable amount of time at his actual what he was trying to flog. That was that Red Rock, wasn't it?
Red Rock Resources, and next door was the Horse Hill.
We were talking to the guys there, and I mean, in the end, they wanted to hire us to try and find someone that would rip them off a load of money. I mean, it's laughable, really. Yeah. So, this guy's obviously heard what we were about, and he's come to us with some information. We've already got all the information anyway. But I mean, Gordon, I know that it's gone further since that meeting.
I think I copied you. I think I copied you in the email that I sent to him, which was quite a sarcastic one.
Yeah.
But what it was meant to do was invoke their response to the allegations and the accusations that I was making.
That's right. And have they responded?
Of course not. Because they all go to jail. They all go to jail. Well, they should go to jail.
Hmm.
But it's moved on from there. As I said, I made an approach to the Russian embassy.
Oh yes, I see that. I see that on Facebook this week. You made an approach to the Russian embassy. Did you get anywhere with that at all?
Well, it's so secure there. They've even got British police officers at their gate. And so the introduction is that it must be by interview only. And what I attempted to do was, with our government having a dig at Russia backing ISIS or trying to slaughter ISIS and prevent oil that's being sold through certain conservative MPs who are running Janelle Energy and Gulf Keystone Petroleum, so I'll name it. And there's a certain Tory MP who's a shareholder and a director of both. And it has been claimed by other media outlets that what they're doing is they're buying this ISIL oil, this covert oil, and then moving it into Turkey and then on into Israel. And this is why I say that the Finchley Road addresses are the biggest scandal in British history. And what it will do is it will bring down not just the Tory government, but the Labour government as well, because they are also complicit in protecting that section of London. You know, I say I'm not anti-Semitic. I just don't like people that thieve billions.
Party politics is anti-democratic in its very essence. At its very essence, they're more concerned about their party than, you know, as we know, they try to cover everything up. You know, it gives them a bad name. You know, I mean, it's not the way to run a country. I mean, we need transparency, and we need people to run things that ordinary folk can trust.
Well, Gordon, who runs 788, 790 Finchley Road?
Well, that's
at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, that's David Allen Perlman and Barbara Cahan, Mary Philomena Stevens, who are acting agents for the Rothschilds.
That's correct. And I think the most, when we look at what, I mean, a lot of this stuff goes back into the Rothschilds, a lot of it. And that's when people go, oh, conspiracy, right?
Well, no, I have nothing to do with conspiracy. I just go and get the documents.
That's right. It's not a conspiracy when you can prove it. You know, I mean, I'm telling people, you know, all this work going on the motorways throughout the country, these smart motorways, this is so that they're going to start charging us all by the mile to use the roads that we built. Okay? Now, I'll tell you something, and not a lot of people know it, but on the Dartford crossing, where the tolls used to be, now they're removed, they've renamed that stretch of road the A282, and that is privately owned by the Rothschilds. And also, the Rothschilds are going to own every single motorway in this country.
Wow. How does this tie into the Oppenheimers and the?
It's to keep the money at the top. We know there's not very many of these people. You know, lots of Cameron are just their brown-nosed dogs. Basically, you get thrown the scraps. You know.
If you understand why I went to the Russian embassy, was to give them a heads up, Mr. Vladimir Putin. If any of the intelligence services are looking at this and they want to bash on my door, I love my country. I'm not a traitor. I'm not treasonous to my country. I tell you what I don't like. I don't like people that take the urine. And I don't like when the Yukos oil scandal emerged, what they were doing was they asset stripped Russia, but they needed a conduit to move it back into this country. This is where all the Russian oligarchs moved their money out of Russia illegally and with tax avoidance and tax evasion. But old Putin, he's a smart man. He put a load of them in jail.
He booted some Rothschild out of Russia as well. So this ties into this as well, Gordon.
The problem is,
isn't
that? The problem is to identify the complicit conduits who were assisting the asset stripping of Russian assets and by tax avoidance, whether it's £1 billion tax avoidance. And so what I tried to do for the Russian government and the Russian embassy was to give them a heads up. And what I gave them was Yukos International Services Limited, which was a dissolved company which ran for 14 years. And its company number, I've got it here, it's 044-14316. So that's not hearsay. However, it's also come out of Company Directors Limited and Temple Secretaries, which is 788, 790 Finchley Road. So what you have is the conduit.
They've cut Bowden off right at the.
Yeah. What this is it's the front line of the fight between the Brit. In my view, Gordon might disagree. It's the front line of the battle between the West, which is Rothschilds, Oppenheimers, Morgans, the rest of it, and the countries over in the East. You know, the BRICS nations, which are China, India, South Africa, Brazil, Russia. Now they're trying to set up a new economic system. There's a battle going on in Ukraine and Syria and places like this. This is the front line now. And this is why it's important that the Russian embassy know what we know and pass this information across. Okay, Andy?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So this information, this is why we keep coming back to 788, 790 Finchley Road. And this thing about UCOS oil is massive. Mm-hmm. Because at the time, Russia were coming out of the Cold War and they had Yeltsin and all the rest of it. And they moved out. And then their economy they tried to collapse their economy. Now, there's massive cases now in The Hague and different places. And the Russians originally, I think, lost the case and by a guy called, he was the CEO of UCOS Oil. Mm-hmm. Now, he was arrested and then he was pardoned by Putin for diplomatic reasons, I think, now. But the Russians were told that they had to pay, I think it was 40 billion, right? Which would collapse, which helped to collapse the Russian economy, who are trying to get out of the economy now. Now, I think there's been two cases recently where they've said that the Hague, their findings aren't going to stand in law now. And there's been two other cases where they've said, no, it's wrong. This is why we're giving the information to the Russian embassy, okay? Wow. Because it's a massive, massive thing. It really, from the way I look at it, is they're trying to collapse the BRICS. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's wrong. Gordon might have...
well, that's also, I mean, you look at China and see all the sudden mysterious explosions that were happening out there at their oil refineries and generating plants.
It's all linked, Peter. It's all linked.
Of course it is.
It's the West. It's a cold war. It's a hot war, really, but it just seems cold.
That's right. Yeah, it's all about controlling possessions. I mean, look, if we took money out of the equation, right, that into it all over.
They still want control. They want control, but
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And that's why they keep the rest of us poor, and that's why everything's divide and rule. If you look at politics today, it's 100% to divide one group against another group, or one minority against another minority.
That's right.
They did it with the Jews in the 30s and the 40s. They're doing it with the Muslims today. It's the same thing. All you got to do, they keep you so busy that the ordinary man and woman on the street hasn't got time to look into this stuff, right? They haven't, I was blessed. As we talk about synchronicity, the coming together of certain people at that certain time a few years ago was just, it's all going to happen. It's all going to come out, There's no stopping it.
Yeah. But you've also got to remember that the alternative media is being infiltrated. Well, you mentioned it earlier.
Oh, of course.
I would say probably, a large percentage of the alternative media are bought off.
Oh,
and what they'll release 95% of facts, all right, or information that could be.
Yeah. If you look at human nature. Right now,
yes.
If you look at the audiences that are involved in this referendum debate, most of the argument that people make is about me. Well, if we pull out, I'm going to lose this, I'm going to lose that. It's all about me. Yeah. And I'm afraid that is it's human nature, and it's something that we've got to stop. It's something that we've got to cut off like we did drink driving. Back in my day, everyone used to get pissed and drive. It was just a natural thing. Friday night, jump in the car or on your bike, whatever, and off you'd go. Now that's round the
boxes. People have been in these boxes, Peter.
Yeah, everything's labelled.
These boxes. The people that run in this world play the game. They're outside the box.
See, once you see how the game is played, right? I mean, look, if you're playing a game of, if you're playing a game of chess against somebody, and you know his moves before he's going to make them, then you're gonna win all the time. And fortunately, these people, they don't hide things very well, and there are some very intelligent people that are here. I mean, thanks to Gordon. I mean, most of the stuff that Gordon's got, it's taken 16 years of his dedication, really, to come up with all of this. It's what people are looking for, So I think it's just a matter of time before it does become in the public interest. And at the end of the day, that's all what we want. That's all what we at Pandoras Box want. We want
the important thing about people is
to understand. We want people to understand that we are being led up the garden path, right? We're used as cash cows. There's no, I mean, we use cash cows. They're raping every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And it's been going on for thousands of years, Peter. Thousands of years. Yeah. It's just another tool. You've got religion.
Once you see it for what it is, it doesn't work anymore. And thankfully, since I started this game, which was a long time ago, when we were all still talking about, the legal fiction and all of that, back from John Harris. I mean, back then there was nobody listening. Everybody knew each other. The fact of it is today, there's a lot of people waking up, if that's the term to use. There's a lot of people that are questioning things. And as we all know, these people don't like answering questions, do they? So we're just going to keep at it, and we'll whittle it away,
Well,
Gordon's back, right? Okay.
Listen, I just had to answer another call that came through. If you were to take an opportunity, or any of your listeners to take an opportunity to contact their Labour MP, their constituent MP, and just ask Tony Blair's company, Windrush Ventures Limited, if you use two different search modes, either companies in the UK Limited and company check, you will see that one of his smoke and mirrors 12 companies under Windrush Ventures and Fire Rush Ventures that are currently fronted out of 50 Broadway in London, which is a mail forwarding service. But Windrush Ventures Limited was actually formed by the directors running 788, 790 Finchley Road. So what you're looking at is a massive Labour Party fronted Rothschild's boiler room. That's what it is.
Yeah. And Gordon, I posted that up on your Facebook page. It's fact. It's not.
I know.
And that's why politicians are, the only thing they're interested in is business, is economics and big business. That's all they're interested in, because that's what's paying their wages at the end of the day, or their money, their blackmail money, whatever you want to call it. There's not one of them that are interested in anything that we as a people. And don't forget, it was we the people that built this country, right? It was we the people that died in the First and Second World War.
Exactly.
Right? It wasn't none of these people, It wasn't none of these people.
No.
They were too busy getting wealthy from it by funding both sides. So at the end of the day, I hope that in my lifetime things will start to change. If they don't, it's just going to get worse and worse.
Let me give you a little example of dismantlement. With Yucas Oil, and if you look at Yucas International Services Limited, there was a guy called David Michael Bowden, Blewden, and his companies, African Arabian Petroleum Limited, all dissolved, all used just as conduits. Intelligence Energy Holdings Public Limited, Petro Saudi International UK Limited, Phillips Hill Consulting Limited, Vesta Petroleum Investments Limited, and Yucas Services UK Limited. However, there's another guy. It's linked to a guy called Roger Morris Tucker, and he, with his mate Colin Robert Gordon Gray, run multiple ENI subsidiaries. And you wouldn't believe it, But that involves another guy called Anthony Craven Walker, Gail Craven Walker, and Gail Kincaid, who were the people who recruited Andrea Davison in 1986. At 13,
Michael Tucker. Michael, what was his first name? Michael
Tucker. It was
Tucker and Michael. What was the first one?
The first one was David Michael Bowden, Blewn.
Michael.
And his companies included a company called Vesta Petroleum Investments Limited. And that links into 145, this is another massive boiler room linked to the Raconteurs. It's 145 to 157 St John Street in London. And that's EC1V 4PY. And through that is a guy called Roger Morris Tucker. And he works with Colin Robert Gordon Gray and his network of companies under Director ID 903678301, year of birth 1952. He's got 19 companies, and they all include the ENI network of companies that are all linked to Andrea Davison. Do you understand?
He's saying this is all MI5.
Well, David Lenegas's handler was Donald Ian George Lehman Strang.
Yeah, well, he was SIS, wasn't he?
And he was MI5.
Oh, right.
And when I got contacted by David Lenegas's brother, Lucas Lenegas, who then sent me documents on Delstar International Pty Limited, to which those companies are linked as the money laundering mechanisms for David Anthony Lenegas and all his cronies to Australia.
Yeah, and this is the guy that we were chasing around just for a few comments, you know.
What did he say?
He's probably having a bar of us, you know. I call him David TikTok Lenegas.
Yeah.
Peter, I've never seen somebody who looked so absolutely shell shocked when you said that, mate. His shoulders.
When it comes from
we knew he had it.
Well, obviously he's an Australian, and when he knows that there's an Australian guy on Pandors Box Investigations Limited, it probably whacks him a bit more, knowing that it's a fellow countryman that's up on his arse.
He looked like a dead man walking, that guy, I tell you.
He was sweating, wasn't he? He was sweating. He definitely wasn't enjoying it.
He would be sweating because he lives in Monaco and he's probably watching the Grand Prix right now.
Yeah, it was pretty cold that day. I mean, you know, it was pretty cold that day. I know it was looking sharp, you know, so...
Trust me, he was worried.
Oh, definitely. They all were. That Andrew Bell was, not Andrew Bell, the other guy, Mellon, wasn't it? The guy that was speaking on stage.
James Mellon is pooping himself because of what I told him.
That's correct, and he couldn't get away fast enough, and there was a crowd of people around him. And
well, that's because of his involvement with Uramin Inc. with Sir Samuel S. and Jonah and Miss Anne Laveron. That's what it's all about.
Well, that's right. Yeah. And his only answer to us was, I'm not in that company anymore.
Tom Winifred, do you want to mention him, Gordon, while you're on?
Who?
Tom Winifred. You know Zachariah?
My mate Tom.
My mate Tom Zachariah.
Well, Andy doesn't know these people, but these are just names put out of van. But Andy, trust me, when you want to start defrauding people over 40 years, what you do is you build up a mechanism, one, for promoting them and make millions by aiding and abetting and assisting these fake virtual companies, to which they then give them a stage, like in Master Investor, to make a load of money by being like a Pied Piper, you know, to bring these people in. And you're talking hundreds of thousands of normal investors. But these companies are also selling bulk shares to banks, financial institutions, pension funds, and what they're doing is that they're asset stripping them.
Yeah.
Banks, financial institutions, pension funds.
Billions.
Yeah.
Billions.
I mean, look, recently I found out or I was told that, and I mean, nothing surprises me. So, I mean, we all pay national insurance, don't we? Well, I heard that they make millions from our national insurance, right? And the money that they make from it goes straight into their treasury. Where it goes from there, I've got no idea. But that money should come to us. If they're using our money to invest in whatever, I mean, we know it's invested in the arms and energy and oil industries, that they make a considerable profit on that from each and every one of us in this country. And it will be more than enough money for us all to survive on.
Yeah.
Gordon, do you want to mention Kroll and Blackburrow and those?
Yeah.
Well, Kroll's very old.
9/11.
Well, many people will understand that when you want to protect organised crime, you bring in the best of the best, and they're the SAS. Yeah. And when you want to bring in the best of the SAS, you go to the very top, and that's their commanders. Now, when I started to trace the money mechanisms and the companies linked to my partner's fraud in South Africa in 2001, what I came across was that the people that I was uncovering in South Africa were all intelligence officers from the old apartheid government. They were the clique of billion-pound money laundering frauds. But when the ANC took over, all these cronies were all out of a job. Do you understand? With the old military apartheid government. So what they did was they hooked up with their cronies here in Australia, all over the world, even the Russians. And they decided that when the wall came down, they would then start making money using their connections all over the world. And one of the addresses I traced was the old Lonhro address and their directors, all run by top Tory MPs and lords, all with their fingers in the pies of controlling the mineral assets of Africa. Because that's what it was. It was just a sequence of hundreds of small companies, but to control Central Africa and Southern Africa, because that's where the mineral wealth was. So 22 Arlington Street, I uncovered a company called Arlington Associates Limited. That's LTD, not LIMITED, but Limited. And their four directors from their website was Brigadier Aldwyn James Glendining Wright and Mark Blackburrow, both SAS commanders and both previous senior executives of Kroll Security.
They were all involved in the thing with Mark Thatcher, weren't they, back in the 70s or 80s when he got arrested for trying to create a big coup?
Well, I was there when he was arrested. One of the reasons it brought out interest to me was that the people that stole my partner's investment, they were wining and dining these pieces of crap. Thatcher and her son in a Joburg hotel.
In a way, I'm quite.
They were executive outcomes, and which then turned into Sandline International. That's you're digressing from 22 Arlington Street, because the other directors of Arlington Associates Limited were Geoffrey White of Lonhro and Ambassador Francis D. Cook, who was the ambassador for Oman and various other despot Gulf oil-rich Gulf states. So with my research, what I did was I went in to look at her other biography corporates, and that included a company called Alient Tech Systems, which was a massive American conglomerate arms production company. So that led me then to understanding that if you follow the handbook for American arms production companies, you can find out the paper trail to who they were. And what I found out was that Alient Tech Systems was a subsidiary of one company, and then a subsidiary, 100% subsidiary of Astra Holdings, which was the company that was involved as the go-between to purchase 3 Pelland Harbor 20 kiloton battlefield-ready gravity-drop nuclear bombs.
Gordon. The original question was, because we're going on, that's good. But what's the link to 9/11?
Well, I'll tell you what, Gordon, just a second. Can we, normally, at the end of the first hour, we normally play a tune, give everybody a chance to grab a cuppa and that sort of thing.
An hour already?
Yeah, we've got an hour gone.
We haven't even started yet, mate. We haven't even started.
Okay, well, we'll play a tune.
Not saying much, Andy. I forgot you were there, you know.
Well, I don't like to talk over people when they've got this much information. We'll play a tune and we'll be back in around 5 minutes.
Just let us rattle on.
In the big rock cabin, dogs all have rubber teeth, and the hens lay soft. I'll see you all this coming fall in the big rock candy mountains.
And welcome back to Raconteurs News. And we've been having a little chat in the break, and there's certainly some great stuff coming up in the second hour from Pandors Box Investigations Limited. Are you back, guys? All nice and refreshed?
Yeah. Gordon, do you want to go on
Sorry about those songs, guys. I mean, I hope we haven't lost our audience.
There's a reason for those selections. But do you want to mention Kroll, Gordon, and also 9/11?
I don't want to say I've never been a conspiracy theorist, although I don't believe in sort of demolishment of a building like that with the understanding that those buildings are well stressed, to be able to take something like that. However, what I know about Kroll is that at that time, Kroll Security took over the security of the Twin Towers. Mm-hmm. And from understanding that Brigadier Aldwin James Glendining Wright and Mark Blackburn, his sidekick, also run paramilitary companies. Now, I was led to believe that they took over and the security and the CCTV footage, there was no recording for 2 weeks prior to 9/11. Now,
they're inserting all the explosives, maybe.
Well, as I said, I'm not going to go into conspiracy, but one thing that I do know by following the money trails is that when you list yourself as a director, as in Arlington Associates Limited, what you're supposed to do is give your real name, your date of birth, and the ID number for the corporate registration that you're a director of. However, when I found out that Mr. Aldwin James Glendining Wright spells his name 2 different ways to enter as a director under various different companies.
Yeah, and guises.
So instead of ALDWYN, it's ALDWIN. So he uses 2 variations. Now, Mr. Blackburn, SAS commander, he also uses 2 variations of the name Blackburn. And this is why I say is that once you rumble them, there's no way back, because once you have the paper trail for Companies House documents, they've had it. Do you understand? There's no way they can't squirm out. The other thing is to use the Wayback Machine. You ever heard of that?
No. That's a new one on me.
Do tell, Gordon.
All right. The Wayback Machine enables you to recover information from any website. And so if you know how to manipulate the Wayback Machine, and what you do is you put in www.arlingtonassociates.co.uk into it, and you can recover the actual schematics of their website. And then you will see that they list Ambassador Francis D. Cook as a director. However, Company Check and Director Check and Companies House Check, she is not listed as a director. So that's false and misleading information to the public on a website. Do you understand that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's when I mentioned this on an internet article, they shut the company down. They shut it down because its originating parental address is out of Hereford, where the SAS operate from. And so when you understand black ops, because of my military training, you'll understand that sometimes when you want to move arms to rebel factions, you need conduit companies to set up the money laundering.
Yeah, and most of them conduit companies are set up in the guise of charities and...
Well, that's right. And when you look at film companies like Ingenious Film Partners 2 LLP and Ingenious Film Partners LLP, this is where the likes of Sir Alex Ferguson and the Beckhams and various rugby stars and VIPs and MPs and lords
Yeah.
all move money to offshore accounts.
Yeah.
And that's what they say. Paperwork is a very boring subject. However, when you start to see how they're stealing billions, it becomes very interesting. They hunted Ronnie Biggs for stealing 4.2 million for 25 years. These people are robbing that every day, and nobody gives a shite.
Gordon, you mentioned Anglesey to me this morning. I don't want to go into any detail about it, but you're doing some more research.
Well, I did it weeks ago, but it was just tying up all the loose ends, is to look at the involvement of individual directors that have been nailed in the past for fraud by the Serious Fraud Office. So I've got names there within the old directorship history of Anglesey Mining, which are linked to. I'm not going to name the companies because I don't want to give them a pre-warning. Nothing back to them, but it's linked. 1989. It's linked to the Serious Fraud Office investigation of two companies where millions went missing, and some of them went to jail. So I'm not going to elaborate other than that.
No, that's all right, Gordon. That's all right. It's just to let the public know that we're moving forward quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, moving forward. You know, Gordon, something's been playing on my mind. You know, how all of a sudden after that video that John Patterson took in the BBC when he was talking to that guy who said that he'd moved heaven and earth.
Yeah.
Right now, very very soon after that, as we all know, suddenly the BBC Trust is no longer in existence.
That's right.
Do you think they've done that, Gordon?
Well, because like I've told you, when I traced some of the directors, I can reveal this because it's already out there in the internet world, is that when I revealed that some of the directors of Anglesey Mining, which is a 31-year-old mining company that's never done shit mining, never mined anything, never mind that.
Actually, we've been up there and we've seen all the setup, and we can assure you that might produce a thimble full of anything in over 30 years.
Yeah, so some of the directors like Robert Ian Cuthbertson, Dinesh Kumar Varma, Taylor, these directors, and Bill Hooley, these directors are also registered as directors of companies, film companies and mining companies, out of Painters Hall, 8 and 9 Little Trinity Lane in London, which is in fact a Masonic lodge. And the chief layman or the senior Freemason of that lodge is Lord Anthony William Hall of the BBC. He's a Director General. So how come you have a Freemason Director General that's linked to a Masonic lodge, which is linked to a boiler room connections for fake mining companies and dodgy named film companies? Well, I'm sure he would like to give Jeremy Clarkson his job back.
See, let me explain something in the most layman terms where anybody can understand it.
Please do, Pete.
Okay, let's take us four here. Me, David, Gordon, and yourself, Andy. Mm-hmm. And we want to come up with a scheme to make a bit of money for ourselves. Okay? So, the first thing we do is we open up a film company, right? The second thing we do is we open up a mining company. The third thing we do is we find a very nice surveyor, okay? So we get a surveyor's report which says that this little bit of dirt that we own can produce 28 ounces of gold to the ton, right? Yeah. And then through our media company, what we'll do is we'll hire a couple of machines, a couple of bulldozers, a couple of men, you know, that look good in shorts and vests, and we'll go out there and we'll take a little bit of video of these bulldozers moving a bit of dirt from there and piling it up over there. And then what we'll do is we'll go to an investor roadshow and we'll sell our investment through another company, of course, because obviously we don't want to lose the money, obviously, because we want the money, not the bloody investors. We just want their money, and that's as simple as it is.
Yeah, and then you get the BBC to advertise.
Yeah.
Advertise it.
See, all of these. What you've got to understand is the people that we are dealing with, and the people that seem to be popping up at us, they're involved in the departments where it matters. So you've got guys that are actually on the director names who have got friends in the media, who went to school with this politician. They all know each other, and they're all in it together. They're all in it together.
Members of the House of Lords are directors of these companies.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. There's not, it's not about who isn't involved. It's about, we're having difficulty finding any politician that isn't involved, to be honest.
Yeah, one thing
and I'm talking,
Yeah, one thing that
it's very difficult to find any of them.
One thing that really bothers me about all this, you guys are uncovering all that, and you're doing a great job. But how the hell are we going to get people prosecuted when they're so clearly protected by the system?
This is why
we do it. This is why we're making radio shows, and we've got the information. We'll show it to anybody. We'd love to get these people into a court. We'd love to be awarded maybe a contract from the government when they privatise fraud investigations, because I think that we're very good at it. So we can only hope, once it becomes into the public interest, and once enough people realise about it, Hillsborough took 26 years. Let's not let this take 26 years.
Yeah.
And we've got to be transparent. We're not in this for monetary gain whatsoever. I can assure you, everything we do comes out of our own pockets. We do this as a sense of duty to our country, right? Because we are run by criminals, basically.
Well, that's right. I've met you guys in other places, and I know some of the other things you do, and quite clearly what you do isn't for money, it's for the good of us all, yeah.
It's from the heart. It's from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I couldn't look my grandchildren in the eye when, if this, whatever you want to call it, Agenda 21 or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I don't look my grandkids in the eye and they say to me, what did you do? Well,
Right.
Sat on my arse and watch Coronation Street is not a good answer, is it?
Well, look, mate, I'll tell you what, I don't have the TV, right? I haven't had it for a lot of years, and I swear to God, I ain't missing none of it.
No, absolutely.
The only time I'll be honest with you, the only time I actually watch TV is when the MotoGP's on.
Snap.
Right, Andy, you said, when's it all going to come out? It is coming out, that's the whole point.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's coming out in Australia. It's coming out in France with the French and Swiss investigators.
We are getting people getting in touch with us. We're getting correspondence from people. It's slowly catch a monkey. One of Gordon's favourite sayings.
Well, I suppose as it gathers momentum as well, you're going to have, like you said at the roadshow, you're going to have people who are breaking their necks to grass on their mates to try and save their own wretched skin.
If we had any reporters in the old, like what they were in the old days when they had bulls, we'd be inundated by them.
Yeah.
There's no investigative journalists at all because they're all scared of the Leveson lot. There's just nothing happening. The media is controlled, as we all know. We all know it's controlled.
Yeah.
So let's stop giving them our money. Let's stop watching TV. Let's stop buying bloody newspapers. And let's stop giving money to their corporates. That's all we've got to do.
Yeah.
They're hanging on by their teeth. They all know it. They're all nervous. They're even talking about it. But they know that politics is in a bad spot. They've only got themselves to blame.
If you've got one nurse, one miner, one steel worker, one policeman, one military person listening to your show, Andy, and they want to know where we can make this country a lot better and bring back some of that money, because this is what they call the proceeds of crime.
Yeah.
I know exactly where that money is, exactly where it is. I know which accounts it's being moved through, and I know who's moved it.
Yeah.
So all I need is and with Pandors Box Investigations Limited, we need an access to sit on a panel with any politician that anybody can get in front with us. And I tell you what, there'll be pandemonium in this country because it's not hearsay or conspiracy. This is fact. I'm not David Icke about lizard people. I'm telling you, I can show you where billions are being stolen daily.
And it's factual.
Oh yeah, it's fact. It's not here.
But Andy asked a question about 5 minutes ago or something. How is this information going to get put out? Because it's being blocked. It's being blocked by the Serious Fraud Office, because we know people that are running the Serious Fraud Office that have been moved from the Serious Fraud Office to another. We know people in MI5. We know people in MI6.
So in the lower ranks, they're with us. The lower ranks are with us. We get congratulated, patted on the back by them. Keep going.
I know.
They are with us. I'm telling you. I know that for a fact.
Right.
You know, so it's what it is basically everybody above the rank of inspector needs to be
removed,
dragged into the coals, basically.
The point is though that because this information's come out on Australia, it's coming out now about the Anne Loverone thing. It is coming out. It's just that people don't see it. We know it's there. I'm answering Andy's question, right? So people need to be reassured that the politicians will not release this unless they put the pressure to do it.
Yeah.
All right, you can get in touch with your MP, you can do this and that, but I can guarantee you it'll sit on it, won't do a damn thing about it. It's been done before, we've all done it. Mm-hmm. The way to do it is through the Australian information has been passed on by I don't know who, but somebody has passed it on to the French authorities and the Swiss authorities and the Australian authorities. It's coming out now. That's the point. That's why we're quite comfortable with what's happening now. But at the end of the day, we want to help the people, the people that have had the kids messed around with and all these other issues that will into the open. The point is people need to be assured. Andy asked a direct question. I'm going to direct answer now. It is coming out. It's coming out slowly. But the panic is setting in. We went down to the Master Investor Roadshow to show our faces and let people know who we were. And believe me, they were terrified. They were terrified because they know what we've got and what we're passing out.
We didn't have enough cards with us to give out. I'm telling you.
It doesn't matter because it's all going to blow up anyway.
So why? Let me just say how deep this goes down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
Red Rock Resources with Andrew Bell. When we spoke at their little stall and spoke to the two gentlemen that were there, the one gentleman we spoke to was American intelligence officer.
Exactly.
So how come our saviors who are protecting this country are all thieving scumbags who are protecting the scumbags that are stealing billions? How come they're using intelligence officers and ex-SAS commanders?
Yeah, I think it's all done to do with blackmail, maybe. It's blackmail or paedophiles, or know.
Well, Andrea Davison was running a blackmail honey trap club in Bangor and in London.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, well, I've actually seen all of that, and I've seen the correspondence between her and Tony Blair. And we all know Tony Blair used to dress as Miranda.
Yeah.
It's all blackmail. All those people go to the same schools. I've said before, watch the History Boys.
And didn't Tony Blair go to court for cottaging?
Well, there's no record of that.
But
there's no official record of it.
But he went to court under it.
There is rumour of that. Yeah.
He went to court under his middle names. Well, if you and I were trying to go to court under a false name, surely that's a criminal offence, isn't it? A big one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they all use aliases.
Yeah.
Just like the directors using different names. That's illegal. It is illegal. And the people that are running, the people that are supposed to be checking the aim and all the rest of it,
I mean, I'll tell you what. What's the Queen's real last name? Does anyone know? Is it Windsor? Is it Brattenburg? Is it Coburg? What is the Queen's last name? Do you think? Do any of us know?
I think it might be the Impaler.
Trevor.
Beelzebub.
What is it? You know?
It's Trevor. Trevor the Miner. Yeah.
He's got the ears for it, that's for sure.
I shouldn't. I mean, I was a loyal servant of Her Majesty when I served in the riffraff, and trust me that I was very naive, and so were we all.
Well, we all have been for a lot of years. You know, you know, we can now look back at history. You know, Vietnam. I don't care what you look at, what conflict you look at. We see that these people fund both sides, and they make lots and lots of money out of it.
Yeah,
they have done for a hell of a long time, a hell of a lot of years. Yeah. And it's about time it was put to a stop.
What's your background?
Humanity would be a lot better off without these people in charge.
My background, Gordon. I started off in engineering, but that all went a bit belly up. So I went off on the MotoGP circuit, or Grand Prix as it was then, mechanicking. And then when I came back to real life, I found it very difficult to get a job. And for my sins, I ended up 20 odd years driving a truck.
But you'll know, in the engineering field, when you dismantle something to find out, one, what went wrong, and two, to repair it or modify it, what you have is an ability to dismantle very complex machinery. And that's what I loved in the Air Force, whether it was gas turbines, hydraulic systems, radar turning gear. You know, I really loved the challenge of taking something to pieces, finding out what went wrong with it, and then fixing it, putting it back together. You know, and the companies that I dismantle are no different, and I use the same approach. And it's a piece of cake, you know.
You know, Andy was talking about his previous work experience, and he was talking about motor mechanics. You want to mention Formula One racing?
For me?
Yeah.
How do you mean? Well, what with David William Mills, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, Andrea Davison's partner?
Yeah.
The divorced man that was living in her property when 19 Derby police kicked the doors off.
The information we've got on the Formula One.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it goes.
He wasn't in Formula One, but the links are to Formula One, because when you're looking at what's his name?
Keep it on that. You can, Gordon, but if you want to.
Well, this is still a work in progress. With
this Bernie Eccleston and all that lot.
Yeah, well, Bernie Eccleston got bunged £1 million to Tony Blair, didn't he?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was when Tony Blair tried to give it back. Eccleston said, "Nah, I got you. I can shake you around now." This is what it's all about.
Yeah. See, Gordon's got a hell of a lot of information, Andy, that we're still sitting on at the moment.
Well, he can't.
He can't say anything at the moment. But all you've got to understand is he's got the information, and it's coming out gradually. The information's coming out through Australia. It's coming out through the Anne Love Road case, Euromin, and the rest of it. And it's coming out. It's coming out, and they're panicking. They're really panicking. They don't know what to do. They have no answer to it because they run to a plan, and they can't vary the plan. It's been going on for
usually they pay people off.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can't be bought off. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
It's not that we've been offered. I'm telling you.
It's not just that, Peter. It's because we've got the facts.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's not to do with our integrity. We wouldn't do that anyway. We wouldn't, because Gordon has selected us to come on board in Pandora's Box, right? He's looked at the people that are interested in what he's doing, and he's selected those people to come on board. All right, the ones that are going to work hard and that aren't fearful of these bloody. I won't say it. But we would.
Let me give you this fact, Andy. Let me give you this fact. If you bought a plot of dirt in Namibia, and you paid $100,000 for it, and then 9 months later you sold it for $2.5 billion. That's a good markup, isn't it? Now, wouldn't you think that the system of protecting both France for public listed companies and the United Kingdom security services and the financial services and the serious fraud office wouldn't look at that as a simple case of massive fraud? Do you understand? This is nothing to be complex about. It's very simple. And what the public are not doing is they're not understanding, because they don't get this news. People like yourself with I don't know what your listening rates are for your listeners, how many listeners you have. But trust me, if you've got any listeners out there that can understand how we should not have food banks in this country, because the information that I have would take all that away. It would take it away. Plus our national debt, because these people that have stolen it have to keep it into various accounts. Well, I know them. I know where the money is. Yeah. And that's all it is. Follow the money.
Yeah. When you know where there's enough money out of there for us. I mean, I pay out of it, every single wage I get, I pay about 600 quid plus tax. Mm-hmm. Now, if I didn't have that taken out of my wage, I think that would be quite a fair wage, right? So these corporates earn enough money. I mean, they earn millions each quarter, hundreds of millions each quarter, and they don't pay their taxes. Now, if they all paid their taxes, that means none of us would have to pay tax, right? We should abolish tax, all forms of tax, and we should have the corporations pay our bills, basically.
Yeah, that's how the system's supposed to work, isn't it?
That's how it should work. That is how we shouldn't have shareholders. We shouldn't have shareholders.
So Right Honourable David Cameron went to India with a delegation including Sir William Bill Benjamin Bowring Gamble of Cairn Energy. On behalf of Cairn Energy, he forced the Indian government to push through a $6 billion scam between Cairn India and Vedanta Resources, where I have published that there were one director was on the board of those two companies. That's insider dealing, if you understand what that is.
Yeah, yeah.
So, not only that, he forced the Indian government to negate the tax bill for Vodafone. And who was on the board of Vodafone? Sir Samuel S. and Jonah and Miss Anne Laveron. Yeah. It's a joke. It's a joke.
And this ties into Ariba. Now she's gone to
Rio Tinto.
But this is all coming out. This is coming out.
Well, Rio Tinto is busy killing people in these indigenous people in Asia, so they can get to their land to mine their minerals. You know, and we all know who one of the biggest shareholders of Rio Tinto is, don't we?
Her Majesty the Queen.
Exactly.
But getting back to what Gordon's just said there now, and what the question you asked about 15 minutes ago, Andy. We've got this information. Well, Gordon's got it. We're learning about it all the time. Yeah. People are interested to go and look at Company Check and to go on companies in the UK. People are really interested. There's lots of people on Facebook and all the rest of it listening to what Gordon's saying, and they're taking bits of it in, but they don't see the big picture. Because
if we could get into a question time audience, you know, I mean, I know what questions I'll be asking. I'm telling you, these people literally, you can see them literally melt as soon as you mention this stuff to them. They melt in front of you.
Gordon went on with Peter Eyre ages ago onto Question Time, I think it was, and they were thrown out. Weren't they, Gordon? Weren't you thrown out a few years ago?
Peter tried to get it across. I wasn't there. I went to the launch of New Labour in Nottingham, and what I did was, it's been audio and video recorded. That when I went to Baroness Scotland and John Mann, I gave him documents that would lock up Tony Blair and David Cameron. Now, they're not going to hang themselves, because what they're trying to do is their own self-survival in in politics, but also to protect the integrity of their own political party. But I can't understand as when you give somebody information that relates to criminal acts, they have under the law a duty of care. Sure,
criminals. They're criminals.
Yeah. Well, especially politicians.
Well, that's treason.
So anyway, with this French thing now, and the Australian thing, that's the whole point of what's happening now. People don't see what's happening. It's coming out, and it's coming out gradually. Gordon's sitting on the information that he knows, and he's having a big chuckle at it, really. Because
hey, listen.
Let me assure you, for those intelligence people that are listening, Gordon is not the only one with the information. The information spread between quite a few of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
true. But it's coming out. It's coming out now. I mean, Gordon hasn't mentioned the $1.5 billion fuel heist. I mean, he could go into all sorts of things now. But the point
we could be here. We could do a show for the whole day, Andy.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Non-stop, without adverts, without songs. You know, we could do the whole. You know, for the whole day. But what we're trying to say is, you know, if anybody out there knows anybody that's lost money on the penny market, or they want their investment, whatever company they're investing in, they want due diligence on that company, look, get in touch.
Yeah.
Get in touch, right? Because what we need now is we need people, ordinary people, to come along with us, you know, sign up with us, and support us in what we're doing, and you know, maybe help us to get the word out by asking the questions in the right places.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're doing something next Sunday. I don't know if you're coming, Peter. Are you coming?
Yeah. I'll talk to you about that when we after the show.
Yeah. I say, Andy, we are doing something next Sunday, which will be a revisit from 2015 when I went to a certain place and did a broadcast there before.
That was 2014, I think.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
But this concerns nuclear waste, but it's very accurate, and it should make a lot of people poop themselves because the directors of that company they're staying very silent at the moment. There's quite a few investors pooping themselves because that certain interview that I did has been picked up on the penny stock commentators investors site.
Oh wow!
Oh yes, yeah. So there's a reference there to I'll name it. It's called The Dig, the DIG, by John Green. Lovely man, lives in Anglesey. Uh-huh. Very worried man because of not just what I've exposed, but prior to people in 1989 to 91, they also did it. It was a private eye investigation into the same place that I've exposed. So what we're going to do next Sunday is put it on film.
And this links into BBC, and it's like a spider's web.
Yeah,
Anglesey is really is our main thrust at the moment.
Yeah,
well, it could go other places, but
yeah.
You have to stay focused and aim at one target, and then smash it to pieces.
Yeah, but we're Pandora's Box, Gordon, and how many lids are there on a box?
Oh. No, just one lid. Just one lid. It's just how you pull. It's how you pull the crap out of it one by one.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is because there's 6 lids on a box, isn't there?
Pardon?
There's 6 lids on a box.
I don't know what box you got, mate.
6 faces. Are you talking about 6 faces on it, David?
Yes, the 6 faces, 6 lids. All right. Yeah. So
are you talking about a cube?
Yeah.
A box, a cube. If Pandora's box is a box, isn't it? It's a cube or
Yeah.
So we can open up any lid, any side, any face of the box. We can attack from any angle we want.
That's right. It's when you know the answers. If you anybody that's done a Rubik's cube, I don't know if you've done one of those, Andy.
Yeah, I found the sticker where the screw was, took the sticker off, took the cube to bits and put it all back together with the right squares.
So, as an engineer, you will know that it's the manipulation of a multifaceted fronted mechanism, that once you know how to manipulate it to get where you want to go, it doesn't matter how many moves, the more you do it, the more knowledge you have how to manipulate it.
Yeah.
And by manipulating companies and their directors, what I have found is that once you know the answers to the questions, it's a piece of cake.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said when I have through a library, and trust me, it's a massive library that I have. It lists all the companies, all their directors, who are all, if you didn't know, Freemasons. Is that it's easy to follow the Masonic lodges that they're members of, and then to cross-correlate them to other lodges where they're also directors in these oil, gas, and mining companies.
Yeah, they're called partnerships these days.
Pardon?
They're called partnerships these days, though, aren't they? Partnerships.
Well, there has to be complicit auditors, accountants, and lawyers. And if you understand that, I think 99% of all accountants are Freemasons, then you will understand how easy it is to steal vast amount of money.
Yeah. Well,
because they're the experts.
And the high-ranking police.
Yeah.
I've had police in my family that have been, members of the Freemasonry.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well,
also they're all into it.
Yeah, a big thing we're also up against.
Go on.
A big thing we're also up against is that I think most members of the judiciary, i.e., judges and those kind of people, they're all in the gang, aren't they?
From the law side,
the whole system. Anyone that's anywhere near any power is corrupted.
It's easy. Look, the system that is not designed to work for us.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
The system works for them guys. Okay.
The
system is created for them, and we all know it because how many arrests have there been? How many times have they been caught out and they've denied it until they can deny it no more? These are people that cannot be trusted. It's as easy as that.
What I've been telling Peter and David and Stevie and Lillian and all the other people, Joanne Solis, what I've been telling them is once you identify a target like Finchley Road, like 788 to 790 Finchley Road, 923 Finchley Road, 665 Finchley Road, 420 Finchley Road, 108 to 110 Finchley Road, Winnington House to Woodbury Grove, when you understand the boiler room setups, it's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is keep hammering away at that individual targets, and it'll crumble. Because, as you know, I was called by Mr. Perlman when we were at St. Patrick's State after we rattled the cages there.
Yeah. Well, silence. Court order.
Well,
he rang you, Peter.
Yeah, he did.
And then Peter snitched on me, giving my telephone number.
I bloody well did because I thought that after all the hard work that you put in, and all the hours you've given up, being with your family in doing all of this, I thought that you of all people would appreciate that.
You putting him on to me.
I bloody well did, and I'm glad I did.
Oh, of course you did. It's not that. I want to know who took your video off YouTube.
Yeah, I know. That's I'm not getting any answers, so I really, really don't know.
Well, it says the YouTube community.
Yeah, well, I don't know who they are.
You still got the master copy of that, haven't you?
I'm not sure.
You must.
I'm not sure, mate, because I usually once I've done the stuff with that sort of thing, I'd get rid of it. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know whether I've got it or not. I'll have to look.
Well, I hope so because
if not, mate, we're just going to have to go down and do it again.
Well, it has to be historically linked to reference, and that's why I said is that when they took it down, I would have thought that you would have kept it on on your clip out of your camera.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have
Well, if you got it, send me a copy, will you? Because I want to use it in court.
Yeah, I will do. But I'm going to battle with them to get it put up because there's nothing on that. There's nothing on that that causes. There's no reason why that should have been taken down.
Well, it was naming that particular building was linked to organised crime, the mafia, and Tony Blair.
It had quite a few thousand views.
Yeah, so that's not. If I named Tony Blair in that clip, so why hasn't Tony Blair got his agents to knock on my door like Memory Crystal did in 2013 with Peter Lander?
They can't do that, Gordon, because if anything happens to you, you don't know what's going to come.
Exactly.
So,
do you want to mention, Gordon? Do you want to mention the show, James Mellon's chauffeur?
Yeah.
When we're down at the Master Investment Show, do you want to mention that, or do you want to keep that?
Well, when they followed us, myself and Stevie.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, well, luckily Stevie had that Sony video camera of mine turned around and filmed them following us in his chauffeur-driven Jaguar.
Yeah, what was said to James Mellon in there anyway? I can't remember.
Well, I said I confronted him as he walked past with his stupid hat on. I mentioned about Anne Laveron and Uramin Inc., and he was one of the people that the French are investigating, and he sort of ran away. He said, "Oh, that was a long time ago. I'm not part of it now." Well, he was.
Yeah.
Was he cracking himself as much as Andy Bell was, Andrew Bell?
Well, I'm sure. Look,
he was absolutely. He was shit.
I think Andrew was. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I think he was quite a likable character.
You what? He's a thieving git.
I know he's a thieving git, but that's what I'm trying to put across is he comes across as a real friendly, nice guy. I mean, if you would have met him in a pub over a beer, he would have been an interesting chap, to have a chat with, but, we all know what's behind it. But, these guys, they go to charm school. They're very, very good con artists,
Listen. If you knew how many companies that he was involved with and looked at the history of his companies.
Look, I saw the list. List. Yeah.
How many people's lives has he destroyed? That's what you got to know.
That's right. But what I'm trying to get across is these guys, if you looked at him in the street, you wouldn't think that he would be the sort of guy to do that, because he comes across as well-spoken. He's quite. He appears quite humble in a way in his approach to the way he was talking to us. I mean, we know why.
Yeah. His approach is what they
on the street wouldn't realise how many of this guy's dirty fingers are in pies. Criminal pies.
Mm-hmm.
His persona is that when you stand up in a roadshow, you have to have the guile and the smiles to steal from people's pockets.
Yeah.
And the biggest way to do that is have a history of being able to stand up on a platform and lie their shit to little people who look at them driving their Bentleys and Jags and Ferraris and Lamborghinis and say, "Oh, I want to do that with penny stock." Yeah. And that's a common failing of the human being, is greed.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's what we've got to find another way. It's time.
Well, we're doing it Sunday. We're going to do it Sunday.
That's why I put hi ho up on, because it's all about greed. The Walt Disney thing.
Yeah.
Because we're all in Walt Disneyland anyway.
I mean, when you look at a lot of this stuff now, and you look at mainstream films or things like that, it's all coming out in the movies.
Yeah.
They're talking about all these so-called conspiracies to try and get it into people's heads that that's all bullshit. You saw it in a movie.
Yeah.
Andy, have you ever had Field McConnell on your show?
No, I haven't. I've tried to contact Field several times, but I've never got a response. I'd love to speak to Field.
Yeah. Well, with what I met him twice down at Brighton Courts.
I've seen the videos,
And-
yeah.
Yeah, and as an ex-military man myself, I got great admiration for his skills as a fighter pilot and for a civilian airline pilot. Very intelligent man.
Yeah.
However, what shocked me, as maybe your listeners might like to love this bit, that his sister is the lesbian lover of Hillary Clinton.
Yes, and Field makes no secret of that at all, does he?
No, but wouldn't it be
Marcia something, yeah? Martha.
Marcy?
Christine Marcy, yes.
Wouldn't it be great to have Field? Wouldn't it be great to have Field McConnell on with Tony Blair and David Cameron?
You set it up, Gordon. I'm happy to run that show, no problem.
You know what? Maybe we could
Obama's wife.
make a spoof documentary of that. Maybe we could make a spoof program of that happening.
Yeah. Well, we could always do a rerun on David Cameron and Tony Blair. Oh, it'd be brilliant. Yeah.
Bring back Spitting Image.
Yeah, well, I would think if you go through all the speeches they've ever made and the interviews, you could probably piece something together as a spoof.
Well, of course you could. Yeah, of course you could.
If you ever like Spitting Image, just go Spitting Image South African. I never like a South African.
Never met a nice South African.
Nice South African.
Yes.
Have a look for that one.
Yeah, I remember that
they
one.
were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it wouldn't be allowed these days. But anyway, guys, we're coming to the end of the 2 hours now. I don't suppose you want to go on for a third one, do you?
Well, I've got to go. I've got to go.
Yeah.
I've got to go and see to my dog. She's not very well. So.
No, we seem to be plagued with dogs here. We had Dr. David Halpin on talking about. He came on to talk about Gaza and Dr. David Kelly on Thursday night, and strangely his dog went missing just before the show, so he could only stay for half an hour. So that was quite sad.
Mine's 12 and she's on her last legs now, so she's been a loyal friend and a good companion. So trying to give her a very nice couple of months if she's got that.
Oh, that's a lovely thing to do, Gordon. Yeah.
Well, she is a very good friend.
Yes.
And we'll get back to you about another show at some point in the future. All right.
Absolutely.
And, I'm going on tour from the 8th to the 15th of August. And if anyone's around the Fort William area, I'll see you there. Just look out for the VW campus.
Okay, that's excellent. I'll say thank you to all three of you guys. Thank you to Gordon Bowden, Peter Bromfield, and David Veitch, who together make up Pandors Box Investigations Limited. It's been a fascinating show, and we'd love to have you back on any time, you guys. So
you can visit us in prison after the Anglesey show.
All that remains for me to say is stay tuned for Dr. Rock. He'll have another great show straight after this one. So thanks for listening, everyone. And as always, if it weren't for you, we'd be just talking to ourselves. So thanks for listening. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, T.
Good night.